Alright guys, what's up, what's up? So I'm gonna start with the signal. I'm gonna get straight into this one. Um Last week we had a signal out on USD Chef. Now the technicals for the signal was practically perfect, but the fundamentals were definitely off. And that's where this one caught us off in the form that Wednesday was CPI and Friday was NFP. So Thursday was actually a US holiday. So I actually shouldn't have traded any US pairs for that week at all, apart from setups up on Monday. But I decided that this setup looked really good. I tried to enter because this is a daily fair value gap in the current monthly context, and this fair value gap essentially failed, which is not an issue. But we know exactly why we ended up with this loss. As for the AUD chef trade, which we've been in since last week, this trade is very close to TP. So I requested that everyone move the trade to break even. So if you're in that trade, that's really good. If you're not, we're gonna see what we can get, what we can do for this week. Okay, so let's move over to Forex Factory so we can see the news. 1 second, guys. All right, let me know when you guys can see. Check the broadcast. Okay, so looking at Forex Factory, we can see that on Sunday we have Euro news. On Tuesday we have USD and ZD. On Wednesday we have USD as well. So we're gonna be looking at Euro, USD, and NZD pairs for this week because I take all of my setups on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That's the time that I want price to come into my POI and actually create the low or the high of the week, so we can then ride the weekly range. So let's get straight into the charts from here. Let's see. Let's see what we get. Give me a second here, guys. For some reason it's not letting me. There we go. Make sure everything is working. Let me know if you guys can see my screen because for some reason I'm unable to see what I'm sharing. Alright, I can see it now. Okay, should be good now. Yeah, so we're gonna start our analysis from the monthly, the XY. Looking at this, we still see that we're currently in a consolidation. There isn't much to look at here on the monthly, apart from the fact that we took this previous monthly low, which would mean that we were aiming for this monthly high. But as you can see, currently the monthly candle is trading lower. On the weekly, we can see that we are disrespecting this fair value gap. We've come lower and we are creating somewhat of a fair value gap here, but nothing much to speak about. On the daily, we can see that we created a breakaway gap right here. So not expecting price to come back into this. We currently have somewhat of a value gap lower. I would say that price is currently moving lower because we do have a very strong close below this low, right? Price could come back into this and then drop lower. Maybe create a value gap here, which would be nice. I would say that our next target would be here on the weekly. Yeah, I would say that we're aiming here, probably draw into this pool of liquidity. So I'm gonna say that the XY is overall bearish, looking for lower prices. I'm gonna add this to the add this to the Discord. All right. We also said we're looking at Euro and NZD for this week. So as we go through our pairs, we're gonna see what's going on. I'm gonna actually skip over indices. I don't really trade the indices. I did the analysis for you guys. But if you guys want more index analysis, you can just let me know. But if there is no demand for it, I'm not gonna worry too much about it. This looks very nasty. Wow, these actually look nice. Okay, this would have been a very nice trade this week. On AU, if we're expecting lower prices on the XY, we can expect higher prices on the USD pairs, on XXX USD, and we would expect that these three pairs actually go lower. So AU has been going high. It's been one of the stronger USD pairs when we reacted to the DXY. We did have this fair value gap right here, and then this low got taken right here. And after this low was taken, we see price started to move higher. So on the monthly, we're overall moving higher. I would say that we're drawing to potentially this high up here. On the weekly, we have come into a fair value gap right here, unmitigated fair value gap, right? We're not expecting price to sell from this, but it is a potential area of resistance. Um, Price has closed in this, which means that price may not be wanting to actually react to this at all. On the daily, you can see that we do have a breakaway gap right here. So not expecting price to really come back into this because it is a breakaway gap. All right. We probably have to be looking at how price reacts up here. But overall, we are definitely expecting higher prices from AU next week. We have no real context area to trade from as yet. So if we create a consolidating candle right here, then we can probably get a fair value gap here and trade it higher. If not, then we'll just see what the week brings, and I will keep you guys updated in the Discord as to what trades I do take or what trades I don't take. Euro USD on the monthly DXY is very choppy. On the weekly, we did create this fair value gap higher, taking out this fair value gap over here. On the daily, we have a breakaway gap right here, and we have created the first part of a fair value gap higher. On the weekly, I would say that we're going to this high, so this would probably be our target. On the daily, we also have resistance potentially here. So we'll have to look at these two levels and how price reacts to them. If price sweeps or displaces above those levels, and see what exactly we do. Remember that we trade to react and not proactively. So we trade what the market is saying and not what we think. Okay. So these are the two areas where price could potentially reject from, and we currently don't have anywhere that we want price to continue going higher from. Because if price actually had to do something like this, I would not expect price to actually come back for this high because price is retracing very deep into this leg to then get to a target that it was really close to already. All right. Apart from the fact that this is a breakaway gap, we would still look at this as our overlapping point prior to coming into that breakaway gap. So just keeping that in mind. Euro USD, we're expecting higher prices. So that also means that for the Euro pairs, we will be expecting higher prices for the week. GBP USD, looking to match our bias with the XY. We have been consolidating after we respected this monthly fair value gap, which looks nice. The target has been this high, which we haven't gotten to as yet. Still on our way to it. On the weekly, we are creating a fair value gap right here. It's very high potential that we just run straight through this, and this would be our current weekly target. Very high potential that we just run straight through this and probably create a breakaway gap right here. I don't expect a consolidation. More than likely, we'll get that run through. And the daily, Just like EU, we have a breakaway gap right here. Um, Maybe I can call this one more of a fair value gap. It is a very full-bodied candle higher, but it's not as aggressive as this one. I would still mark this as a breakaway gap for now. We'll see how what price does on Monday before actually wanting to move higher because we currently have the second leg of a fair value gap right here. So we'll see what the third candle does. Um, that's about it for GU. NU also expecting higher prices overall. Let me actually take off these drawings. So these are like equal highs that we took. We took out some liquidity here in relatively equal highs on the monthly, and we had some reaction to that. Um, on the weekly, we are reacting to this weekly low after coming into this fair value gap right here. We didn't react on this weekly candle. We took the low out and then we then started moving higher, which is very nice to see. Right. On the daily, we have a situation very similar to GU and EU where we have somewhat of a breakaway gap here and price is moving higher. Price is displacing higher currently. Let me see what the weekly target would definitely be this high right here. This is our next area, our next discount PD area. On the daily, we're probably looking to target. Well, we have actually met this high, these relatively equal highs, right? Price isn't really rejecting it as yet. So we're gonna see what exactly happens at this area. So this could be a decision point where price decides to go higher aggressively, or price decides to consolidate here, tap into the fair value gap or something like this, consolidate, tap into the fair value gap, and then move higher. That would be nice to see. Um, on this pair, as for this area, I still wouldn't expect price to come back into this because this equalizer haven't really been taken out as yet, and this is still to me a breakaway gap, right? On USD Chef, this is the one we took the trade on last week where we lost. Let me actually run the replay tool to show you guys kind of what I was looking at the time. So this is a fair value gap. So you can see price took at this previous candle's high, very small candle. This is a very nice fair value gap to trade from. We were also in reacting to this monthly. So I was expecting overall higher prices. I did look at the fact that this is very high in the leg, but when you're in good conditions, price tends to move very, very fast. So I wasn't too worried about that. So playing this forward, price did come into our zone. It left a very big wick over here. Then 2 a.m., which was CPI, was right here. So we created a fair value gap, a breakaway gap actually right here. So my execution was here, stop was below here, and take profit would have been here. But we got stopped out in the night before the next day there was chef news that actually would have hit our target, but price had already taken us out. So that's perfectly fine. Looking at this again on the monthly, we are expecting higher prices here. We have this zone which we are reacting to. We are reacting to this zone very nicely, although we have come back into it. On the weekly, we haven't really created a fair value gap out as yet. We are definitely reacting to this, having a reaction to this right here. On the daily, I believe this is one of the factors that I actually missed was the fact that we're actually in a weekly fair value gap. If I had realized this, then what we could have done is require more confirmation on the entry. So this is where you would require more confirmation on your entry, simply because of the fact that if you look at this on the daily, you can see that we are reacting to this, but not to the fair value gap because we did not close inside of it, right? Then we practically reacted to this candle's high, right? Then we reacted to this candle's high, which means that price could be moving lower. So then I should have required actually a 4 hour fair value gap higher, which we never got. So This was actually the oversight. Very nice to see that. It's very important that you actually figure out what your potential mistakes are, technical and psychological, if there are any, so you can avoid making them, right? Currently, on the daily, we are in this fair value gap. We came into here on Friday. But I'm not worried about the fair value gap itself, actually. I'm looking at the overlapping area, which is this order block right here. I'm using the body because the wick does not overlap with any fair value gap. So it's a potential that we come into this order block right here, and then we can still move higher from here. So we can have something like this. Now keep in mind that we do have a fair value gap coming, well, opposing to us. So if it is a situation where we do tap into this fair value gap and we react, I will be requiring a 4 hour fair value gap higher, a retracement into 4 hour PD area. So like basically something like this, retracement into the PD area, and then another fair value gap higher like here to actually execute. This is what I would require because right now this would be a very low probability trade due to the fact that we are reacting to the weekly and we are creating a fair value gap opposing us. But when we do get to that point, I will inform you guys. Let me actually put a alert on here as to what I want to do. Right, like this. Um, here's the card. Here's the card has been very choppy, so not much to look at on the monthly. On the weekly, not much to look at either. On the daily, let me see. Is this the right broker? I use forex.com as a broker, by the way. So all my pairs are currently with this broker forex.com. So if you want to see exactly what my pairs are, these are what I use. We're actually reacting to this daily fair value gap currently, but since the DXY is bullish, we're not looking to sell USD CAD. So I'm gonna just leave this here and we're gonna move on. On the monthly UJ, we are creating a fair value gap here. We obviously have the entire month to trade, so not much to look at here yet. On the weekly, we have created a fair value gap right here, which is overlapping with, seems to be overlapping with this high. Nice, very nice fair value gap. So we could potentially trade back into this and see higher prices from here. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility right here. Would love to see that. We are at all-time highs, so if we do trade into this and trade higher, we will just be targeting this high, and that would be about it. On the daily, there isn't much to look at. We just seem to have be forming somewhat of a fair value gap coming back into this weekly, but keeping in mind that this is a weekly, so we're gonna be looking at it from the weekly time frame overall. Okay, if we do get a nice setup on this, I will be sending it out into the Discord. Gold. Right, gold never came into this monthly fair value gap, which I'm not too happy about. I really wanted this monthly fair value gap. I really wanted this monthly F3G to get tapped. Would have been very nice to see. On the weekly, we have started to create a fair value gap higher. We still have the potential to take out all these lows and then come into this. Keep that in mind. We have reacted to this fair value gap on the daily on Friday. So currently we are sweeping this high and on the weekly be targeting up here. On the daily we swept this high and our next resistance point is up here. So if we get a potential consolidation candle here and then fair value gap higher, this would be nice. Otherwise, I would probably stay away from gold. So we're gonna look at what it does throughout the week, right? Silver. Silver also left behind this breakaway gap. So we're not really looking to come back into that as of right now. Let's see. So we have two potential targets. We can target this high on the monthly, and we also have this high up here. a bit farther away. On the weekly, this is the same target, same high. We came into this weekly fair value gap, this fair value area right here. Let's see. Now this would have been the fair value area right here. So we came into this weekly fair value area and we consolidated here for a bit. Then we took out this low eventually, and then we moved higher based off this low. It's very important to keep in mind that we didn't move higher based off the fair value gap, but off this low. Because after the first tap, the first candle stings into the fair value gap, like right here, if we don't get the reaction immediately, we're actually trading based off the previous candle's low and not the fair value gap itself. Because the fair value gap itself has already been mitigated. So one candle into a fair value gap is a sign of mitigation, like right here. This is mitigated when this candle comes in, and then this candle low gets taken, and which causes us to actually move higher, right? So there's a golden nugget for you guys right there. On the daily, on the weekly, we are sweeping this high. On the daily, we did react to this on Friday, similar to gold. Currently looking at taking this high, very close to that. So we could potentially take this high and then consolidate, move back into fair value gap, and then move higher. That would be nice to see. We also have this potential high as resistance, which is very close to this high. So if we do get into this high, I believe that we will take out this high as well. But that's left to be seen. Okay, and oil, looking at overall getting through this high, seems to be our overall target. Um, on the weekly, we have a breakaway gap. We actually have a fair value gap right here. It's possible that price does trade back into this. Very possible. We'll keep that in mind. We are currently reacting to a very small weekly fair value gap right here. Alright, we're reacting to that. We have a nice wick into it. So that's a potential that price could potentially move lower into the fair value gap. The daily, the daily has, we did react to this fair value gap last week. I wasn't actually paying attention to this trade, which I should have been. If I was, this could have been a very nice trade into that fair value gap up here. I was actually looking at this after the fact, but I don't think I would have had fun with this trade regardless. Looking at this, yeah, but we did react to this daily fair value gap right here, and then we moved higher. So it's a potential that we do move lower into this weekly still. We're gonna see how price plays out for the week and what exactly happens. So we'll know what steps to take. Looking at our crosses. So we're looking at this week AUD pairs and Euro pairs. No, NZD pairs and Euro pairs. So let's dive into the Euro pairs first. Then we'll do the NZD pairs after. Alright, last week we were looking at these Euro pairs as well. They were playing out really well according to Euro USD, but we just didn't get any trades from them. So looking at Euro going higher overall, looking for higher prices on the Euro pairs. This is definitely bearish. Look like we're aiming for this low. Not seeing anything to trade on the weekly, nothing on the daily. Euro CAD, very choppy overall. On the weekly, we're creating fair value gap higher, disrespecting this fair value gap right here, which is good to see. On the daily, we are creating a fair value gap higher here as well. We do have a fair value gap below. We do have an FVG below right here. I'm not sure if we will possibly trade back into this, but it is here. The weekly, our next PD area will be up here. On the daily, our next PD area would be over here. Alright, so if we get something like a consolidation or like a down candle like this one over here, possibly get a trade back into fair value gap. and a nice setup to go higher. You're a chef. The reaction to this fair value gap was definitely nice. Well, this breakaway gap actually wouldn't have wanted to trade that. So we are reacting to this breakaway gap on the monthly. Weekly, we do have a breakaway gap here, right here as well. Don't want price to trade back into this. We have closed inside this fair value gap, so I'm gonna say that our next target will probably be this fair value gap. Potentially our next target, as well as these highs up here. On the daily, we seem to be reacting to this actually. We're still reacting inside this. So price took out previous day's high, close below. Looks somewhat of a bearish formation at the top. This is a breakaway gap, so don't necessarily want to see price come back into this and reject from it. I'm gonna still mark it out, and we're gonna see how price plays out during the week. Set an alert right here. EG, looking for higher prices. The weekly, the daily, nothing to really trade on here. EN, we are actually reacting to a fair value gap right now, monthly fair value gap. So we have to keep this in mind. Weekly, nothing to trade. Daily, yeah, nothing to look at on here. EJ, creating a breakaway gap on the monthly. On the weekly, we have a breakaway gap right here. So this week could potentially be a potential consolidation since we are creating another fair value gap right here. The daily, we did tap into this fair value gap. I would definitely trade this if we take out this low on Monday. I could potentially look for a trade on EJ. So I'm actually setting a alert here. We're gonna see how this plays out. As for the NZD pairs, we are looking for overall higher prices on NU. So AN will be looking for lower prices overall. I don't see that happening right now. Potentially this high on the weekly and the fair value gap to trade from the daily. Yeah, wouldn't really expect lower prices from this. EN, let's see if we can get some lower pricing. Well, that's what we've been looking at actually. So we're reacting to the monthly. All right, on the weekly, we are reacting to this. So let's see what this looks like. What did this react from? The target would actually be down here. We have equal lows right now. Weekly, daily. We tapped into this on Tuesday, which was actually a day of news. So that's fine. Okay, if we get a daily fair value gap here, so if we get a daily fair value gap or breakaway gap on EN, we can definitely trade into these lows. I will actually want to see that. That's something I'm gonna be looking for this week. This is a very nice trade. Now this is a high probability trade in the form that we did create a fair value gap right here. We tapped into the fair value gap. We are not reacting to any PE raise currently. So price is looking very nice right now on EN. Alright, so there's that. GN also looking for lower prices on here. It's not as clean as EN, definitely. Weekly, nothing. Daily, so nothing to look at right now. And CAD, Looking for higher prices. We're reacting to this monthly right here. Monthly fair value gap. Keep in mind that the monthly did react to this high and then displace lower. Um, on the weekly, we have fair value gap right here. We could potentially react to. Then we have this high, the daily, definitely creating a fair value gap moving higher. Now, I wouldn't trade this on the daily because it's a bit low probability. It's lower probability due to the fact that price moved above this short-term high and price displaced lower. So price did not close above the short-term high, which makes this a bit lower probability. So if I was to trade this, I would trade it off a weekly fair value gap. But by the time that this weekly fair value gap happens, we may be very close to this high. So I may not want to take the trade, but we are waiting for, definitely waiting for weekly fair value gap. This over here. All right. And chef, looking for higher prices. We did react on this monthly nicely, and we are moving higher. On the weekly, nothing nice to look at. On the daily, nothing nice to look at. So we're gonna see how this forms over the next week. And J, um, nothing on the monthly. On the weekly, nothing to look at. On the daily, we did have this fair value gap here. We tapped back in and we moved higher. So nothing to really look at. All right, guys. So that's about it for the forecast for this week. We have looked through all the pairs that we are that I'm going to be looking to trade during the week. Those of you in the Discord, you're gonna be able to. Those of you in the Discord, you're gonna be able to. One second, guys. One second. One second. Let me actually look at this because I believe that. Okay. All right. So this week, those of you in the Discord, we're gonna be able to follow along with me while I go through the week by week, day by day, sorry, and let you guys know what exactly I'm thinking and how I want to tackle the market. But I have given you guys a brief overview of what I'm looking at, what I'm not looking at, so you can just go along with that and then use whatever entry confirmations you guys use when price does come into the points of interest.